Do not, and I repeat, do not have sex on the first date. It is absolutely not the right thing to do. But it'd be a lot cooler if you did. What's good, y'all? Thanks for clicking on the link. WTJ Knowledge Drops back with another video. I am kind of in uncharted waters here. I am trying to put together the ultimate dating advice video for women. And generally, I just go out and find some good advice from different people out there. But there is very few. I did find a few good ones. But it looks like I'll be filling in the rest. I'm just going to freestyle it. I mean, obviously, we know the reason why there's not much content out there. You really don't need any advice. You have the power of the vagina, ladies. The power of the vagina goes very, very far. So you really don't need much dating advice, but you do. So let's get into this video. I think you'll learn something, and then at the end, I will give you a few tips that I've learned throughout my 44-year life. You don't want to miss them. So stay to the end. I hope you enjoy it. I love you guys.
Today we're chatting all about my sort of dating rules / guidelines. I want you to come out of this video being like, okay, I know my worth. I'm going to stop chasing these men I have no business chasing. We're going to talk about how you're going to stop being the one who's picked and you're going to start choosing. We're going to talk about how to stop being convenient and just be who you are, know what you want, stand your ground. We're going to chat about how to deal with like behaviors you don't like, how to act, what to say, that sort of a thing. 2 disclaimers I want to put out, and we'll get through those really quickly. Number 1, I am coming from a place of dating men for the most part. So that's the context. I believe in masculine, feminine energy, and I think every relationship has that polarity, or at least most, no matter if it's like a straight relationship or not. I think there are so many misconceptions when it comes to what feminine energy actually is, and I do want to talk about that. It is not being weak, first of all, and it is not being a 1950s housewife. I don't know where we got that from, but that is ridiculous. We'll chat a little bit about that, but if you want a whole other video about feminine energy and how to kind of step into it and what it is, let me know. I'll gladly make a whole video about it. Disclaimer number 2, anytime anyone shares any sort of dating advice of how to act or what to say or how to be when it comes to dating, there's always comments like, oh, I just want to be myself. I don't want to play any games. And sure, who am I to tell you what to do and what not to do with your life? You can do whatever you want. But I assume that most of us that are watching this kind of content are coming from a place of not being very healthy when it comes to relationships and dating. Maybe we've experienced whatever in our childhoods and we are, let's say, anxiously attached, or we're insecure, we don't see our worth, we go for the wrong guys. I would like to think that that is not who I am, or at least it's not who I want to be. And I think these tips are how to better yourself so that you can get what you want. Because I assume the behavior you've been in hasn't gotten you what you want, otherwise you wouldn't be watching this. And that is something I personally experienced. I did a lot of toxic dating. I was in a lot of toxic situationships, relationships, you name it, I've experienced it. I then took a year off dating and I was single on purpose, and I really took that year to learn about these patterns and start to heal them. And I'm now in a healthy, happy, long-term committed relationship that I've always wanted. And so this is kind of coming from that place of someone who has been through it and is now on the other side and this is something that I would do if I had to start from scratch. I'm Nika, by the way. I like to make content like this, just chatting about things that are important in the self-development space. And I like to make my advice and my videos super actionable so that when you're done watching it, you're like, okay, I can implement this, I can do this exercise, and I can start today because that's just something that works for me. So I hope it works for you as well. And if it's up your alley, I would love for you to stick around and subscribe and check out my other social media for more content like this. Alrighty, that was a little long, but let's jump right into it. Okay, step number one, and I think the most crucial one, is we're gonna uncover your worth. Because what is this business of you chasing people or trying to convince people to be with you or to want you or to love you? That ends today, and it can end today. And I'm hoping that these things that I'm about to say that helped me flip that switch are gonna help you as well, because then you don't have to keep convincing yourself like, oh, I shouldn't be doing this, I shouldn't be chasing this person, like I know it's not good for me, it's not gonna get me what I want, but I just cannot stop. We're gonna end this so that naturally you're not even interested in people like that anymore. That is the goal. Okay, so usually people, especially men, are very honest. It might not be through what they're saying, but it's definitely through what they're doing. So they might say like, I don't want a relationship right now, or I'm not looking for anything serious, but most likely they're just not putting in as much effort. So they're not making the time to see you, you're not any kind of priority, they don't really care to check in with you, you kind of need to chase them to make anything happen. That means, and I hate to say it, I know it sucks to hear, but it means that they're not interested in that way. They don't want you in that way. They don't want a relationship with you. Because when anyone wants to be with you, especially a man, they will make it very obvious. Like, this will not be something hard to decode or something you need to convince yourself and find loopholes of, oh, but he did text me last Friday to say that he misses me, so he must care. Like, it won't even be a question, does he like me, does he want to be with me or not? It's very, very obvious, because why wouldn't he make it obvious if that is what he wants? You know, it's very simple. But if we are in this pattern of chasing people that we know deep down don't want us, it comes from somewhere, obviously. It might be that your dad didn't have time for you, so you kept just kind of scraping for some love and attention. Maybe you were bullied early on in childhood. Maybe you just didn't feel loved and like you belong in your family. Whatever it might be, there are 100 different types of stories, but they all lead to the same place, which is you not believing that who you are is good enough and worthy enough to be loved just for who you are. And now you're out here convincing these random Chads or Brads or whoever that no, I am actually good enough, I am actually lovable. And by you convincing them that you are, and if you actually get to the point where you convince them, which you usually never do, but if you magically make that happen, then you're like, I am lovable because Chad here loves me. And that is what you're doing subconsciously. Like, you're trying to convince yourself of something that you should do within yourself that has no business being something that you're trying to achieve outside of yourself by Chad loving you, you know? So if that already doesn't flip a switch of you just knowing this is what I'm doing, this is my pattern, I'm trying to convince people to love me because I don't believe deep down that I'm lovable, then please pause this video right now, get a picture of yourself when you were a little kid, whichever one like speaks to you and you just feel like, oh, I love this little kid. Pick that one. So now that you have this picture, imagine that this child is like with you all the time. And obviously you want the best for this child. It's an innocent little kid that has done absolutely nothing to deserve whatever has happened to him, okay? You have this Chad guy over here who's showing you all the ways in which you are not lovable and is just confirming these feelings for you. Does this little kid deserve that? Yeah, I'm gonna choose Chad anyway because you're not lovable. No, that is not what we're doing. Of course, you want this child to feel like they're loved and they're amazing the way they are. So you need to start protecting this child and choosing for them if you cannot do it for yourself now as an adult. And you can put this photo on your wall so that you see it all the time as a reminder. You can put it as your screensaver on your phone. You can put it as a picture when Chad texts you of like, no, we're not doing this anymore because this little Nika doesn't deserve this. She's experienced enough of that, and this chapter has closed. I am not doing that to her anymore. I like to view worth as like we all have the same amount of worth that we come into this world with. It doesn't matter how pretty you are, how smart you are, how many people you have in your life, it doesn't matter. We all have the same amount. And if you imagine a window, imagine that light coming into the window as your worth. And so it's coming into every window everywhere. It shines all the time, let's just imagine. And for the people who have low self-worth, their windows are just dirty. So the light is still there, it can still come through, but you just need to clean the window. And I recommend you watch my video about confidence. I'll link it down below. That will give you a lot of different tips and tricks and exercises to kind of start to see your own worth if you want to check that out. I want to give you another analogy just to really hammer this in, because I know how difficult it is to actually start believing that you are worthy and loving. And of course it's going to be difficult. Like if you grew up in an environment where this was constantly confirmed, like, no, you're not lovable as who you are. You need to be this way. You need to achieve this. You need to be that way, blah, blah, blah. Of course you believe that you don't have any worth. Like, why wouldn't you? Anyone who would experience the things that you have experienced would get to this exact point. And I know because I've been there. Trust me. And you can choose today to stop that cycle. And I know it will take time for it to actually become a new pattern, but you can start today. So the analogy is, let's imagine Hermes, right? The designer, really expensive store that has really expensive bags. They're called Birkins, okay? From my understanding, Birkins are like around $20,000 or way more than that, which means, you know, you would think they're worthy, and you would think Hermes as a brand has a lot of worth because it has a lot of value, and not everyone can afford them. You usually obviously need to have a lot of money. So it's this high thing that people want to achieve and want to have. Let's say Hermes gets a new CEO, and that CEO doesn't understand the value of Hermes. So he gets people to stand in front of their stores with a poster saying, please come into our store. And you see it and you're like, that's weird. Why would Hermes want me to be in a store? Like, I cannot afford this. But you're curious, you've never been into the store before, so you go in, and then you see Birkins being like 20 euros. And you're like, okay, very strange. You might buy one because you're like, oh my God, it's a Birkin. But will that Birkin keep its value? Of course not. It will no longer be this thing people desire, this like exclusive thing people want. The people who bought Birkins as an investment will lose all their money because they completely lost their value. So you would assume that Hermes is communicating that they no longer have any value. Value is much lower than it used to be. And they're not directly saying this to you. They're not like, we have no value. But with everything that they're doing, with their actions, they're showing you there's no value to this brand anymore. And if you have a very low value in yourself and a low self-worth, that is what you're doing. And usually how it comes out the most is in your dating life. Like usually that is where those insecurities are pulled out of you the most, where those toxic patterns really shine. And that is what you're doing. You're standing out there with your poster of like, please someone want me, please chat, love me, please reply to me. There's no self-worth, and that is very unattractive. And there is no shame in wanting to be attractive to men. If this gets you to finally realize your self-worth and start working on yourself, who cares? Genuinely, I don't know why it's like embarrassing or shameful to want to be attractive to men. If you want to be in a relationship with a man, like, I don't get it. But anyway, and this is the last thing I want to say on this topic, if you're still like, no, I need to convince Chad to love me. Let's say you convince him not to love you, but just to commit to you because you've gone on and on and on. And let's say you magically made it happen, which rarely happens. But let's say you didn't. What kind of a relationship is that going to be? Are you going to feel loved for who you are? Are you going to feel like you're super worthy and like you're this amazing person that he sees and loves and admires? No, you're going to have to keep convincing him. And that is not a nice relationship to be in. It's going to keep confirming these feelings that you have inside of you, these insecurities that you have, that you are not lovable or worthy or whatever. And if you have to think long term, how is this going to look in a committed relationship 3 years down the line, then do that, because it can help. Because you're like, no, that sounds awful. Sounds like a train wreck. And you're going to keep feeling this way. It's not just going to magically disappear if he commits, because you still had to convince him and you're going to have to keep doing it. And I assume that is not what you want. I assume you want to be with someone who's actually going to love you and respect you and see you as this amazing person that you are. And first you need to start seeing that in yourself. Okay, let's move on. Step number 2, let men do the work. Let men do the thing they naturally do best, which is achieve, hunt, conquer, chase, however you want to slice that cake. Masculine energy thrives and it gets their confidence in that way. If you don't believe me, go to my confidence video and find a comment, I might put it up here, of a guy being like, oh, these tips are good, or like, they might increase your happiness, but the way you get confident is by achieving. And I wrote to him, like, I agree that achieving things builds confidence, but I think to base your entire confidence on that is a very masculine thing, and it works for men, but it doesn't work for most feminine women. Because just imagine a compliment. So men value compliments that have to do with their achievements the most. So if a guy pumps your tires, you're like, oh my God, I love it when you pump my tires. You're so good at it. It's like talking to a toddler sometimes. Imagine him complimenting you on the things that you do in the household. Like, oh my God, I love the way you clean for us. If you weren't offended, you would be like, okay, well, thanks, I guess. Like, it wouldn't feel like an amazing compliment. Like, imagine your girlfriend's complimenting you. Like, oh my God, I love your hair today, or I love how you're always there for me, or I love, it's more about who you are, and it's not that much about what you do. Of course, doing things, achieving things feels good for a lot of women as well. We all have feminine and masculine energy. So yeah, it makes men feel good to chase, to conquer, to whatever. Doing stuff for you, doing things in general, working to get you makes men feel good. It builds their confidence. And you can look back in history, not that that's a good example of feminine and masculine energy that's healthy, but you can see how men have naturally done this for centuries. Even in the animal kingdom, I don't think I've ever seen, and I've watched a lot of animal documentaries, a species where the female is working to get the male. It's usually the male bird doing some sort of performance with its wings or dance or whatever to get the female's attention. Or there's many birds stacking sticks in a particular way to get her to choose one. That is nature. And of course, we're more developed than a bird. I get it. But is our nature, our biology, more developed than that? I don't think so. And this might be controversial. We still have those natural instincts. We still have a survival instinct, a need to survive. And that caveman brain is still in there. And we can pretend that it's not, but so far it is. So we can either use it to our advantage, or we can ignore it and do whatever we want, of course. So yeah, let men do what they do best naturally. It doesn't usually work the opposite way of you chasing them. It's usually very unattractive to men, unless he's a very feminine man and you're a very masculine woman, and that works for you, and that's the type of dynamic and relationship you want. Of course, go for it. Do what makes you happy. But for the most case, men feel amazing. They feel masculine. They feel confident when they achieve something. Step number 3, we're continuing on this train. Stop being so convenient. And this is so hard for us as women to understand, because we've been taught since we were born to be a good girl, to be easy to take care of. Oh, are you going to be a good girl for mommy today? And I feel like this is even more the case if you come from an Eastern European culture, which is where I come from. This is hammered in us. You're going to stop being the girl who's being picked, and you're going to start choosing. And from what we've learned in step number 2 about men and the masculine energy, and feel free to ask the men around you, the men that are actually confident and living their best life and dating amazing women, ask those men, not losers, please, because do you want to date a loser? Probably not. They naturally hunt, conquer, achieve, chase. So they're going to be happy to chase someone. And what that represents when you're not as convenient, when you're not super easy to get, is that you have high value. Again, going back to that Hermes example, you are someone who's hard to get, and you're not playing hard to get. You are hard to get. You are someone who's choosing them, and you want them to show you who they are, and then you're making a decision. Like that bird, female bird, watching male birds put together sticks and then choosing the one that they like the best, the one that's going to give them what they want. So this whole good girl complex, being super convenient, being okay with everything. I feel bad about this, but whatever, you can just do whatever you want because I'm so easy and convenient and I'm a good girl. What has that ever gotten you? Is that going to make you feel like you're being loved for who you are and you're being respected and you're being, an equal partner in this relationship? I don't mean equal as you bring the same things to the table, but the value of what you bring is equal. It's not going to give you that because you're going to be afraid to communicate what you want. You're not going to be who you are. So how are you going to feel that you're being loved for who you are if you're scared to actually show that? So let's stop being so convenient. When you're dating a guy, when he texts you like, Oh, do you want to get sushi and you don't like sushi? Don't say, oh yeah, I would love that. No, you don't like sushi. You wouldn't love that. Are you insane? Are you gonna sit there the whole time and pretend you like sushi? No. Why are you doing that? Text him back, oh, I actually don't really like sushi. Don't apologize. Don't be like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't like sushi. Why are you apologizing? Why are you sorry for the things you like, you don't like, for who you are, for who you're not? Super convenient, and that good girl is actually not very attractive to masculine men because, again, they don't have to do much work to get you, and that doesn't build confidence. It doesn't make them feel good about themselves. It just doesn't give them what they need. So in the sushi example, text them, oh, I actually don't really like sushi, but I'd be down for Mexican or Indian. Done. And then he can be like, oh, actually, no, a good restaurant, do you want to go here? Yes, great. And he can make the plans. So we're not going to play hard to get. We will be hard to get because you have your own life, you have your own interests, you're working on yourself, you're doing things that make you happy, you have your own hobbies, your own people that you love. Like, your life is not on pause because this guy is suddenly interested in you. No, you're continuing with all those things. You're very strong in your needs, your boundaries, you know what you want, and he can work towards having you if that's what he wants. If this is hard for you to grasp, like, imagine you're this goddess that people are just worshiping for who she is, for her beauty, for what she represents. That is the vibes we're going for. So don't play hard to get, be hard to get, and don't go out of your way to be convenient because we have our own life, we've got our own things going on, so we're not going to be super convenient because if you want to hang out on Tuesday at 10 p.m., I have plans all day. I've got things to do all day. I don't have the energy to meet you at 10 p.m., but we can meet up on Saturday. I'm free then. Guys and the type of guy that you want, like that. And you're just going to have to start doing it to really realize that that's what they like and that's what they're really attracted towards. Because I know we've been taught the opposite because we need to be good girls. Tip number 4, we're going to piggyback off of the last one. Dating is vetting. You're there, you're a goddess on your throne, being amazing, doing what you're doing, and you're observing what he's doing, how he's acting, if that's something you want, if you think that's going to give you the relationship that you want, and you're believing what he's showing you. Pay attention to what he's doing. Pay attention to chat over there with his red flags and his whatever, because I'm in my little goddess throne, and you're coming in my space, and this is a temple, and I want only the best in here. So you're going to stop controlling the scenario and the outcome. So if chat over there is not putting in the effort and you're always the one who's texting first and making plans because otherwise nothing's going to happen, take a step back and see what he does. If he does absolutely nothing, he's not for you. Why would you want someone who's not even going to try to have you? Because you have value. You're on your throne as a goddess. And chat over there is doing absolutely nothing. And so he can leave. Also, don't commit too soon. After 2 dates, you don't know the person. You don't know if they can give you what you want, what you need. You don't know if they're gonna add to the happiness you already have. And if you're in this amazing space where you're working on yourself and you're doing things that you love, why would you want someone to ruin that for you? So again, a really important part is to work on yourself and do things for yourself to be happy. And then when you're dating, you're coming into that space as just the best version of yourself, and your standards naturally raise way higher because you're like, I'm not gonna let chat over here ruin my happiness. I've got so many amazing things in my life and I want a man who's gonna add to that. And if this is hard for you to do, date more people at once, honestly. And that doesn't mean sleeping with them, it just means going on dates, letting them treat you, and living your best life. Okay, the last tip, step number 5, is to show, don't tell. Women are naturally amazing at communicating, and we are amazing as emotional leaders in a relationship. It's very natural for us to be in touch with our feelings, to communicate in terms of this is how I feel, and I feel this way because of XYZ, and this is what I need, and blah, blah, blah. And we can go on forever and ever. And that is amazing, and that is a strength, a big strength that we bring to the table that's equal to a man's strength. And this is what pisses me off about feminism, but we're not even going to get into that. The masculine, men, boys, guys, whatever, react so much better and understand so much better when you show them instead of going on and on and on about what you don't like, how it's making you feel, blah, 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 blah. It's amazing that you have that awareness and you can communicate it once and then zip it. And this is why nagging, which we're very good at as women, doesn't work with men. because they're just like, okay. La la la. So if he does something you don't like, if it's disrespectful, if he's crossed the boundary, tell him once. I didn't like it when you did that. It made me feel really disrespected. Done. Silence. That is a boundary. It's a rule. It doesn't need to be an essay. You just say it, zip it, and you don't repeat it. If they continue with that pattern, it's up to you to decide if you want that in your life. Obviously depends on how serious the issue is or the boundary crossing is, or you can just be bored with the behavior.
I want you to have successful, fun first dates, all right? So I'm gonna lay out for you 5 great first date tips for women. Now, my name is Stefan Laboussiere, AKA Stefan Speaks, back with another dating and relationship advice video for women, all right? And before we get started into that topic, I need you to like this video, share it, and comment below. Just comment. Just give me your feedback on this video, what you're thinking, whatever the case may be, all right? So we're talking about first dates, and the reality is that dating can feel like an annoyance at times. It can feel like it's not worth it at times, but I feel like it's because we're not taking the most effective approach. We don't understand how to get better results, and so we're kind of fighting with one hand tied behind our back. And so I want to give you information and insight that's going to help you get better results. All right. So let's just get right into it. 5 first date tips for women. Tip number 1. And now I'm going to put it out there right now. I'm making this number 1 because I feel like this is just so important to emphasize. So tip number 1, speak in the positive during your date. Listen. You got to understand that men are drawn to feminine energy. And people in general are drawn to positive and feminine energy. But one thing I've seen it in my own experiences, I've heard and seen it in other men's experiences, or from just women telling me what they went through, is women go on these dates and not being mindful of the negative tone in which they're speaking, not being mindful of the negative energy that they're giving off. Maybe it's because you're a bit guarded while you're on this date, you're overthinking and overanalyzing, so essentially you have walls up, and that is throwing things off, all right? I understand why you may be concerned, and there's reasons to be concerned anytime you're meeting someone new. However, you gotta go into this being open, being free, allowing yourself to enjoy, allowing yourself to speak more and walk more in positive and feminine energy. So when you are on this date, focus less on talking about things you don't like. Focus on talking about things you do like. Don't focus on the criticism of things. Focus on how you can point out beautiful things in this world. Like whatever it's going to take to keep you in that positive mindset, do that. Because when you come off so positive, loving, and feminine, that's going to draw in that man's attention even more. That is going to raise the chances of you guys being able to come together and that second date happening and for something greater to happen in this situation. So you want to be very mindful and intentional to speak in the positive when you are on these first dates. Because remember, man, that first impression is very important. So don't let it be a negative one. Now, number 2, all right? And technically you could say this should have been before number 1. I just felt like number 1 was too important to make it number 2. Anyways, number 2, take your appearance seriously. Now listen, I know you're like, what you mean? Of course we take it seriously. I know that you do to you. But what I mean is this, a lot of you aren't always being mindful of bringing your best. Now again, it's not that we're trying to make it all about how you look in your physical appearance, but let's not act like that doesn't play a role in the evaluation of if we want to build a relationship with someone. And we, again, want to make a great first impression. So you not only want to make sure you're trying to look your best, but you're looking your best as far as what appeals to men. Now, please don't misconstrue that to think, I want you to be out there with your breasts all hanging out because you think it's going to get a man's attention even more. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is there are certain clothes and styles and colors even that are going to work more in your favor, that are going to be specific to you and what works well with you. And so you want to learn to identify these things in advance so that you can go in with your best. So you know how like with work, people have a power suit, all right, when they go on interviews. So find your power outfit for dates. Now, you may not want to wear the same outfit every single time you go on a first date, even though that's your choice. But even if it's multiple outfits of the same style that encompass those colors, that style, that fit, that works well with you and your body, find that and then use it to your advantage. Now, here's a little key to finding that great style that's going to be effective for you. Get the opinion of other men. A lot of y'all are going out with the opinions of women leading you, all right? And sometimes they may be great opinions, and other times your girlfriends are setting you up, having you look a hot mess when you walk out that house. And you think you're good, but you're not. You're not as good as you think you're looking, all right? And it's not you're not capable of looking much better. It's just that you are not tapping in to the style that truly works for you and the color. And let me just emphasize, I do think that in most cases, wearing colorful clothes will work to your advantage on your first date. Because going back to point number one, color can emit energy, so you want something that's bright, colorful, it's more positive, it's more warm, it's more inviting, rather than the dark colored clothes. Now, I'm not saying there aren't any exceptions to that rule, but I do think, again, in most cases, the color will work more to your advantage. But either way, find that style, find that power outfit that's gonna work well for you, and then rock that, all right? And again, get the opinions of other men. I know when I would go shopping, whether it be for cologne or clothes, all right, I would get the opinions of women because I'm trying to attract women. I wasn't trying, why would I get the opinions of my friends, my homeboys, when I'm trying to go out with ladies? Find out what they like, what they think is appealing on me, and then use that. So I think you should do the same thing. Talk to the men, get their insight, and then use that to your advantage. The number three first date tip for you, all right, is smell good. It's so simple, yet it is overlooked all the time, all right? The power of smell is something serious. And I said in the previous video, it's called 3 Ways to Become More Attractive, that smelling good makes everybody a little bit cuter. Like everybody looks a little bit better when they smell good. And again, we're focusing on that first impression. Now, I would love for you to consistently aim to smell good, of course, but we're gonna go on that first date. We wanna come with our best foot forward. So whether that be nice smelling lotions or oils, whatever it is, perfume, whatever works for you, make it happen. But make sure you smell nice. Put some effort into that, all right? Because again, that's going to have an impact. And when you start combining these things, you're smelling good, you're wearing your power outfit, you're speaking positive, exuding feminine energy, I'm telling you, you're going to see your results go through the roof. I'm not exaggerating. You're going to see things be so much better. Even in cases where maybe this guy just isn't for you because that's just the way it's going to be sometimes, you're going to have much more enjoyable experiences. And I believe you will also just feel better and more confident, which will also translate well in your first date, all right? Number 4 first date tip is let the conversation flow. So here's a huge mistake a lot of women make, is you go into these dates interrogating the man or prepared to interrogate, and that's what ends up happening. And you're just running off these questions and you're just trying to dig. And listen, there is nothing wrong with asking questions. There is nothing wrong with diving deep into each other and trying to get to know each other on the first date. I know some people may say, no, you need to wait. No, forget all that. There's nothing wrong with having deep discussions on the first date. But there's a difference between a natural flow of conversation that takes us there versus trying to interrogate and force the issue. You don't want to come off like that. You don't want to come off like it's this strict interview that you're having. You just want to talk, all right? And even if you have your certain questions that you want to ask, flow with the conversation. Because again, if you guys start going into what he's purposed doing, let's say he found his purpose, I don't know why it's coming to my mind, but let's say he found his purpose and you're talking about that, all right? And you guys are having a great discussion. Well, you just don't stop in the mid-discussion and say, okay, so do you want kids? Like, you can't, that's bad. You're breaking the flow of it. Now, if he naturally, in discussing his purpose, brings up family and kids, now it's a perfect time to ask about his position or his perception of kids. But you don't force it in there. So just let things flow. Be aware. Be present in the moment. Because the reality is that when we're not letting things flow, we're not present in the conversation. We're more so in our mind. We're overthinking. We're overanalyzing. And so we're not really paying attention and listening to what they're saying that allows us to now flow and connect logical conversation to what's being discussed at the moment. So be very, very mindful of that on your first dates. And then last but not least, flirt, but don't get sexual. This is number 5. And this is a very important first date tip because, again, I think a lot of women have lost the art of flirtation. And the reason why flirtation is so important is because flirtation is, in essence, presents or shows desire, okay? And everyone wants to feel desired. And everyone wants to feel like you're actually interested in them. So when you're flirting, that makes them feel like, oh, okay, she actually likes me. There's something here that makes him feel good, that allows the situation to progress in a very positive manner. But you want to make sure you don't cross the line of the flirtation becoming sexual, all right? Because we don't want this to become a sexual situation. If we're trying to date for the purpose of relationship and eventually marriage, then we need to leave the sex off the table for as long as possible. I mean, ideally, of course, waiting till marriage, if you're a believer, is what you should be doing. But I know that doesn't apply to everybody. Everybody doesn't adhere to that. But at the very least, we want to delay that as much as possible and keep the focus on getting to know each other, see if there's a connection there. But flirting helps in the, again, expressing desire, expressing interest, and it increases the positivity of the situation, just makes things a lot better overall. So simple flirting is complimenting him, you know, being willing to be affectionate, again, affectionate within certain bounds. So it could be hugs, or a nice hug, kissing the cheek, things of that nature. That shows a level of affection and flirtation that doesn't take it to the level of being sexual. Now, if he, by chance, takes your flirtation and tries to now make a sexual attempt, just simply know, hey, that's not too fast. Let's not go there yet. And if he's serious about you and very interested, he's not going to be offended or bothered by that. He'll respect you and he'll understand. He'll leave it alone. So don't get into your mind and think, well, I can't be flirtatious because he's going to take it the wrong way. No, you'll simply correct that issue if it does go in that direction. But you still want to work at that. Those compliments can go a long, long way. So those are my 5 first date tips for women, 5 great first date tips for women.
So in my experience of coaching women over 10 years, most women are way too hard on themselves and way too quick to jump into what am I doing wrong and self-analyzing and going over every little thing that they said or every little text that they sent and looking for mistakes. And so I want to kick off this video by letting you know that it is really hard to screw up the right thing. And so most of the time, it's that the two of you are not a good fit together. And that's okay. It's not that he's doing something wrong or you're doing something wrong. It's just that it's not a right fit. And if you are wanting to improve your own dating skill set, because relating is a skill set for how we actually build and create connection with one another, I do want to give you 10 very practical things that you can focus on or keep at the top of your mind when you're on a date to help really bring your best self to the present moment and create a beautiful connection, if there's one to be had with this guy. So, mistake number one that both women and men make is being too negative about their career or about their job or about their vocation. You and I both know that negativity is unattractive, but here's the trap that we can sometimes fall into, is one of the ways that we connect with people is through bonding through common shared experiences. So the trap is, if he is complaining about his job and you jump into the puddle or you commiserate with him in that moment, while it feels good to connect with someone through the experience of pain, the challenge is what they've associated with you then is pain. And when they leave that experience, they're like, I don't really want to, they're not in that negative state anymore. And they're like, I don't want more of that negative state. The other challenge is that if you're the one complaining about your job and you haven't changed things yet, then it positions you as a victim, which places the power outside of yourself and places it in someone else's hands. You are now a victim to your career. I remember a buddy of mine was dating this girl and we go on these double dates together. Every time we went out with this woman, she would complain about her job and how stressful it was and how many hours she was working and how underpaid she was. And the first couple times we were like, oh, that kind of sucks. And we changed the topic and move on. The third time she was complaining about it. And I was like, why don't you just change your job? And she got all defensive and she got all angry, like, I can't change my job and I've worked there 4 years and they're paying for my master's degree. And it was like, whoa. And what did that represent? That represented that she's got a victim mentality. She is a victim to the circumstance, a circumstance she agreed to and co-created. And that is not attractive at all. When you're looking for a partner, and quite frankly, your man is looking for a woman who is empowered, who is not a victim to her circumstances, but is co-creating her world and co-creating something beautiful. So just notice the amount of complaining that might be happening on the date and refrain from too much commiseration on that first date. Here is mistake number 2. And self-admittedly, this is one that I fell into a lot when I was dating. And mistake number 2 is asking dater view questions. Dater view questions are where you are like grilling the person, like you are interviewing them to try to figure out, is this the one? Is this your person? Is this going to be the person you're going to spend the rest of your life with? Because you don't want to waste your time. You've been single for so long. You've been dating forever. You're like, let's just get this over with, the dating process, and let's get into a relationship. That's your energetic state, and you don't want to waste your time. So you like get down to brass tacks right out of the gate on date number 1, and you start checking off the list. Religion, job, kids, commitment, all the things. You're like firing off these questions. And while that is productive, while it is efficient, it also kills the fun. I was guilty of this. In fact, I had a woman who gave me the gift of feedback one time because she was a friend. We kind of started dating, and then we went back to being friends, and she was like, can I give you some advice? I was like, yeah. She was like, don't interrogate your dates any longer. I was like, what are you talking about? She was like, when I was dating you, she was like, I was walking on pins and needles. I felt like every day was a test with you, like, and the questions you were grilling me, she was like, I was trying to pass this test, like you were interviewing me, interrogating me. And I was like, oh my gosh, I do not want whoever I wind up with to have that experience. And so the key here is, how do you get to know them and know whether or not they're a partner, but also keep it fun? Because the number one reason someone wants to go back out on a second date is because the first date was fun. They had a good time, they enjoyed themselves, and they could see themselves potentially growing into something with you. So keep it light, keep it fun. You can ask some questions, but no, if this does go the distance, you don't have to get all those questions answered on date number 1. The one thing you should be concerned about on date number 1 is, do we have some common interests, and am I having a good time? Does it feel life-giving to be with this person? That's really the most important aspect just on date number 1. Give yourself the gift of time to peel back the layers and uncover and understand, is this person long-term material? Now, if you'd love some questions for how to get to know him, but also help create the most fun on a date, I've got a great ebook for you that has 50 beautiful, fun questions, things to talk about, things to ask on a first date. I'm gonna link this up in the description. Click that link. It's a free ebook. It's a gift from me to you. I think you'll like it. The third mistake that both women and men make on a date is being rude to the wait staff, or being rude to people who aren't really directly related to the date. They're periphery. And while you may not think that your date notices this, oh, they notice. And it is a big deal. Because they know, as a date, you know that when you're on a date, that person is on their best behavior. When we go on a first date, we're all trying to make a great impression, right? We're all bringing our best to that moment. So if you're on a date and the person you're with is nice to you, but they're a jerk to the waitstaff, or they're complaining, or they are, sarcastic or short, they lose patience with someone else that they're on a date. Maybe someone standing in line, they're like, this was our spot, blah, blah, blah. They're like that. This person's like, oh man, this is their best behavior. I wonder when they're not on their best behavior, that same energy, that attitude is gonna come to me. But conversely, the opposite is true. When you're generous to people that are in the periphery on your date, when you are kind to them, when you take notice of them, you lift them up, that has the equal and opposite uplifting effect for your partner. Like, wow, look how generous, patient, kind this person is. Wow, I want that in my life. I want that kind of person to be the one that I'm having a relationship with, because those qualities feel really good. So you've got a beautiful opportunity to demonstrate what it's like to be with you in a relationship, not by how you treat the partner or the person, but by how you treat everybody else on that date. And the fourth mistake that we tend to make on first dates, and in fact, there was a study done, and 49% of people said that this mistake was a conversation killer, and it is talking about your ex. Now, I know we've all done it. Every one of us talked about our ex, and especially if you're hung up on your ex, you still kind of like them, and you're like, and you talk about that ex, they can feel that energy coming through. Or worse yet, if you're resentful, pissed off about your ex, bringing that up never helps the conversation. Just know that. Rule of thumb, do not talk about your exes. If there's something that you want to bring up, talk about it later. If your person you're on the first date with talks about their ex, let them know, say, we got lots of time to talk about our exes. I'm way more interested in you. Tell me about you. And just shift the conversation like that. Because here's what happens. When someone starts talking about their ex, and specifically if you're describing your ex, I don't care if you dated 3 guys and they were all narcissistic. Every one of them was selfish and a jerk. If you start describing a pattern of men as selfish, jerk, narcissists, then what happens is it actually makes you look like you're judgmental. It makes you look like the victim. It makes you look like you've got a bad sense of judgment because you've attracted all these guys. And that is not attractive to your partner, the person that you're on a date with. So as a general rule of thumb, do not talk about the ex. If you want to bring up standards and boundaries, just simply say, these are my standards. This is the kind of guy I'm looking for, and keep it forward focused, and it's going to serve both of you a whole lot better. Mistake number 5. And this is a tough one, man. This one is one that's really easy to slip into, and it's trying too hard. Here's what's human. What's human is you want things to work out. What's human is you want to already bring your best to the date. What's human is if you like them, you want them to like you back. And so it can be very easy with the wrong mindset to slip into the trying too hard phase. In fact, I was actually on a coaching call earlier this morning with one of the women in my Manifest Your Man program. And she was saying how she was describing how she was never getting asked out for a second date. She's gone on 4 first dates and she's not being asked out on a second date. And I said, well, tell me what's going on for you. And she was like, well, if I'm on a date with a guy who's really intellectual and he's really smart, I try to bring him over here and help him have fun. And if I'm on a guy who's just kind of keeping it surface level, I try to bring the conversation over here and have him go deep. And I was like, So at the end of your date, how are you feeling? And she's like, I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted at the end of my dates. And I was like, yeah, well, I think the reason you're exhausted at the end of your days, does it feel like you might be trying too hard? And she leaned back in her chair and she was like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what it is. I'm trying way too hard. And I said, what are you trying hard to accomplish? And she was like, I'm trying hard to make it fun for myself because I want to have a good time. And the truth is, I want him to have a good time. I'm trying hard to help him have a good time as well. And I said, here's what's great. The mindset shift is your job is not to make him have a good time. No, your job on a date is to assess how good of a time are you having with this person from your core, from home base. You see, when we get off center, we get out of our home base, we chase people. We try to get them to like us. We get over interested in them. You know, they say they like pizza and you're like, oh, I love pizza too. You know, they say they breathe air and you're like, you breathe air? How what a coincidence. I breathe air too. They're like, you go over the top. And I know you're not saying that, but you go over the top energetically to try to get them to like you. You get off balance. Number one, that's unattractive. Number two, it looks desperate. But number three, it's exhausting. So instead, use this mindset. Sit back on a date. Notice your own energy. Come from your own center, your core, your home base. And say, do you like this person? Are they willing to invest and make it fun? And here's what's interesting. When you actually create space for the masculine energy to step in and create the fun and bring the joy and create the experience, and then you respond to that in a positive way where you're having a good time, that's actually the best dynamic for building attraction. And guess what? It's a whole lot less effort on your part. So test that out and see if you don't have some increased results. Here's the sixth mistake that's very common that both men and women make on a date, and it's oversharing. You ever had a guy overshare with you on a date? How did that feel? And the challenge is we want to be open, we want to be vulnerable, we want to share and help people get to know us. And new relationships are often like a new plant, you know, where there's a seed and it's just sprouting, a seedling is just coming up through the surface and it's taking root. And sharing is like watering that plant. And if you overshare, you overwater that plant, it's actually going to kill the plant. Where a little seedling doesn't need as much water as a giant oak tree does. Right? And as the relationship grows, you can share more and more. And so in the beginning, you're sharing the kind of information that is appropriate for a first date, for them to get to know your values and to get to know your common interests, to see, do I align with this person? And I would also say your vision for what it is that you want. But the deep, dark secrets of the past, you can wait until that relationship has enough roots to actually absorb that amount of watering or sharing, so to speak. So how do you know when it's appropriate to share? Here's a great way to know. When he's earned the trust with you, both in terms of time spent with you and honoring agreements, so that you know without a shadow of a doubt that he's going to protect your heart with this information, that he's going to cherish what it is that you're saying, and he's going to respect what it is that you're sharing about your past or whatever it is that you're being vulnerable about. When you know that without a shadow of a doubt, then it's time to share that information. And even then it can be scary to share, but sharing that when you have a strong foundation is actually what helps the relationship go deep. But just know you don't have to do that right away. In fact, it's better to keep it lighter in the beginning and then go deeper later on. And mistake number 7 is for those of you who are really passionate, those of you who have really strong beliefs. It is, like myself, lecturing about our beliefs. And lecturing is the key word here. It doesn't mean you don't share about your beliefs, but it's easy for those of us who are really passionate and those of us who believe strongly in a certain thing to lecture about our beliefs. And here's where you know where you're sharing versus lecturing. When you notice you're dominating the conversation, when you notice your emotional intensity increasing, when you notice your own patience or acceptance for an opposing view gets diminished, that's when you start lecturing. Relationships, especially in the beginning, it's okay to have opposing views when you accept that each party has the right to have an opposing view. But if you notice that you're in convincing energy, take it a notch down. And know you've got lots of time to explore the possibilities with this person. The beginnings of the date is about for you to let him know who you are but also to remember, your job is to learn who this guy is without judgment and without trying to influence or control. So ask him about his opinions and ask him, why do you think that way? Why does that matter to you? What experiences have you had that have helped form that in you? And you're going to get a really good picture about the person you're dating. Mistake number 8, and you probably know this already, but it's being too self-effacing or being too self-critical, where you're not accepting compliments or you're not accepting his attraction or affection for you. You're deflecting those compliments. That just comes across as low self-esteem. So he's like, oh, you look really beautiful, or oh, that's an amazing, beautiful dress. And you're like, oh, I've had this a long time, and oh, I really don't look that good. Or some people will actually go so far as they'll talk about their sister or their brother or their friend who's really attractive and really amazing. And it makes the person on the date think, well, why am I going out with you? Why am I not going out with your sister? Or why am I not going out with your friend? Great self-esteem. The person who is really grounded in their own confidence, who's not egotistical or conceited, the person who's just really centered in their own worth, when someone compliments them, they say thank you. They know what their strengths are. They're able to talk about their strengths, but they're able to talk about their mistakes equally. So make sure there's a balance in the conversation. If you've been going down the, oh, this has been going wrong, or I'm not really good at this, make sure you balance it back out and share some of the things that you know you're really good at. What are the talents you have? What are the gifts you're bringing the world? And when you have a balance of those, the gifts aren't going to come across as egotistical, but also sharing about your mistakes won't come across as too self-effacing either. You'll come across as centered, grounded, and the kind of woman that he's like, wow, I could create a beautiful connection with her. And the 9th mistake that both men and women make on first dates is, and hold on for just a moment here. I'm going to just check something. Oh my goodness. It's being on your phone. Okay? You and I both know we don't like it when other people are on their phone, and yet if we're not careful, if we have a habit of going to our phone and checking our phone's on the table, it is the biggest turnoff, and it's becoming increasing. We live, and you and I know, we are in a society where the phone goes everywhere. It's the first thing people look at in the morning, last thing they look at before they go to bed. People aren't even aware of how often they check their phone. In fact, there was a survey done where they said, how often do you think people look at their phones? And the audience was like, how many of you think 20 times a day? People raise their hand. How many of you think 40 times a day? Some other people raise their hand. Less than that, people raise their hand. 157 times a day. This one study said, on average, people looked at their phones 157 times a day. People had no clue how often they're looking at their phones. Well, if we personalize that, what if you and I actually looked at our phones way more than we thought? Way more than other people could actually pick up on, because when our awareness goes into our phone, we black out to the rest of the world pretty much. So do yourself a favor. On a date, put that phone away. Don't even bring it out. Turn it on airplane mode, whatever you need to do so that you can bring your full presence to that moment and bring your full best for both yourself and for him. Now, I know what you're thinking, and that is, well, what if he's on his phone? So here's what you do. If he's on his phone, you take your phone out and you say real loudly, catch, and you throw your phone at him and he has to catch it. No, I'm kidding. You don't do that. Okay. But here's what you do. You notice, oh, this dude is on his phone. That's the kind of presence that he's bringing to this moment. Your job is not to get him to be a certain way. Your job is to see the way he really is and then make a determination. Is this the kind of guy I want to be with or not? After you've been dating for a while, if he does meet the marks where you do want to go out with him, then the two of you have enough connection, the two of you have enough rapport where you could say, hey, would you mind putting the phone away, and so that we can bring our full presence to each other? And at that point, he's got enough connection with you that he's not going to take it all defensive. And he may say, yeah, I just need to send this. I'm so sorry, this was work. Okay, boom, done, away. Let's focus on you. And the 10th way of being, call it a mistake, 10th way of being that really doesn't serve the date to progress forward is what we call me versus them. And this is a technique that people get taught from their parents, they get taught from their families on how to look good in front of other people. And it's basically you put other groups of people down so that you can look better. And so some people call this the pick me girl, where they're like, I'm not like those other girls who, they can't just walk out without, like a girl walks by with her fully done makeup and fully decked out and all of that. And so you put her down, you're like, I don't like that, where people have to get all dressed up and have to get all dolled up just to go out. Why can't they just go out with no makeup or whatever? And you put someone else down, and really, essence is lifting yourself up. While he may agree with your point, in that moment, there's a subtext, a subtle energy to that moment that just doesn't feel good. It's life constricting. Because when someone else has to drag someone else down for themselves to be lifted up, that's going to repel the attraction with this guy. Way better to celebrate other people, to acknowledge other people, to be like, oh my gosh, I read this great story about these people doing this great thing, or I love it when people do this. Be that person that lifts others up. Because here's the deal. When someone draws other people down to lift up, it's only a matter of time before the person they're on the date said, well, it's just a matter of time before they're going to drag me down to lift themselves up. Instead, if you're with a person of increase who's lifting other people up, then the person you're on a date with knows, wow, she's going to lift me up too. My life is going to be enhanced because I'm with this person, and that feels really, really good. So, great work. You made it through these 10 mistakes that both men and women make on a first date. And I just want to remind you, these are just guidelines. These are things to not judge yourself by, not feel bad about, but just guidelines that can help you create, number one, you being your best self on the date, but number two, you identifying is the person you're on a date with someone that you want to continue forward.
Okay, let's do this. If somebody's ever told you, listen, you're great and you just need to believe that you deserve love, and your response is, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard, then this dating advice is for you. Dating. The painful social ritual of gradually and strategically revealing all the grossest things about yourself. There's a lot about love and dating that I don't understand, mostly all of it, but these are a few bizarre tricks that really helped me as a very anxious person in dating. We're gonna talk about sex. We're gonna talk about learning to trust yourself and other bullshit. We're gonna talk about my one biggest regret in dating. Yeah, I'm already not looking forward to the comments section of this video. Let's do it. I've been dating for a while. I feel like I've been dating my whole damn life. And I actually have a boyfriend right now. I don't know why I said it that way. He's a very, very nice boy. He's a very good boy. But this video is not about him. This video is about all the I dated before, because I really believe that finding the right person is really just about like getting better and faster at eliminating and identifying the wrong people, like getting better at that. If you know somebody who really struggles to trust themselves, trust their gut, trust their instincts in dating, this video is especially for them, especially for a lot of women. And for every dude who is gonna comment on this video, they're gonna be like, Caroline, you're overthinking it. Listen, congratulations. I'm so happy to hear that your mind is a place of sanity and stability. What is that like? But for everyone else out there, here, I made a video for you. If it doesn't resonate with you, if you've got a different opinion, feel free to share it. Please, I do ask you to try to share it in a way that's not gonna make me cry. Tip number one that nobody wants me to say. Have you ever heard the advice to never judge a book by its cover? Interesting advice. I disagree. I would say always judge a book by its cover. That's why they make covers for the books, is to tell you what's in the book. It kind of gives you a clue. Now, hear me out. You have to do this a very specific way. The hardest thing in dating is learning to balance like trusting your gut while balancing that with still like giving people a chance and giving them the benefit of the doubt. But you don't want to give people a chance so much that you're erasing what your gut already knew. It's kind of both. I firmly believe that all the information you need to know about a person is there in the beginning. It is all there in the beginning. You just don't know like what's a clue yet. It is all there in the beginning. I actually kind of think that like on a dating app, all the information you need to know about someone is in their first message to you. Tell me I'm wrong. So for example, you see a guy, I'm talking about guys because that's who I dated. You see a guy who dresses a certain way, and because of the way he dresses, you judge him as being like kind of a boy or whatever, or a player. I don't come to that conclusion for no reason. It's based on my experience. My experience with a lot of guys who dress this way is that it often correlates to treating me this way. So you don't want to completely ignore your experience. What I do is I try to consciously note, okay, I'm making an assumption about this person based on superficial information. I'm judging a book by its cover, and I'm assuming that this person is going to treat me this way. However, I am staying open to being proven wrong. I'm open to the fact that that may be a completely false assumption. So it's like holding two truths at once. You have to stay open to being proven wrong, because of course, sometimes we make stupid covers for a good book. Of course that happens. People judge my book cover all the time. But the key, I think, is to like not completely gaslight yourself out of what you've already observed. Your experience is worth a lot, and I think that's a really key part of learning to trust your own instincts. Is I'm not going to write people off based on my experience and my gut and my instinct, but I'm also not going to pretend like I never knew it. I think this really helps if you're a really empathetic person who's willing to, like, I can kind of explain away anything anyone does to me. I can kind of justify anything anyone does to me, no matter how terrible it is, because I can understand maybe where they're coming from, and that can land you in a really dangerous place. So if you're inclined to like over empathize, over excuse people's behavior, then you may need to do this. Judge that freaking book by its cover, and also be open to the fact that you may be wrong, and then like approach with curiosity. But don't not look at the cover. The cover's there for a reason. The cover is information on it. You should look at it for sure. Like literally always. Okay, moving on. Okay, I'd like to take a moment to talk about something I don't usually talk about on YouTube. I keep it pretty PG here. But we do need to talk about kisses. Okay? Kisses. When to give the kisses. Who to kiss. When to kiss. Should I kiss? Let me say this. If anyone has a opinion about how or when or who you kiss, they're a pervert. That is none of their damn business. And I really don't think there's a right answer of the timeline. Like, I really believe that if somebody likes you for your heart and soul and mind, it kind of doesn't matter. And if somebody is just using you for your kisses, it kind of doesn't matter when it happens. I don't think you're gonna trick someone into like sticking around longer by playing some kind of game. However, if you're like me, I got really tripped up trying to figure out what people's intentions were with me. It felt really hard to decipher, like, is this guy just here for the kisses? And so if you find yourself in that conundrum, this is what I'll say. It's not dissimilar to like, you got a bunch of friends, you're making all these friends, and you're always inviting them over to your beach house. You got the best beach house, and people love hanging out at the beach house. And one day you're like, I can't really tell if my friends just like me for my beach house. And what I would say to that is stop inviting them to the beach house. I bet you're gonna figure out pretty fast who's there for what. Don't invite them to the beach house. And it's not about playing a game. It's just about like, you're gonna find out pretty quickly if someone is also interested in your friendship, in your mind, in your heart. Some people are going to disagree with me on this, and that's okay, but I found it really helpful for discerning. The way that this does not work is like, you're inviting them to the beach house, you're inviting them to the beach house, you're inviting them to the beach house, and then you stop and try and like see how they react. Because they always just take it as a challenge. They're just going to take it as a challenge, like, well, now I'm going to get re-invited to the beach house, and I'm going to show you, like, no, it doesn't work when you do it in the middle. And it also is kind of weird behavior, like, why are you pulling back? That does feel like a game. To me, it's more just like, let's just work on hanging out and being friends, and eventually, if I feel safe with you, you can maybe come to the beach house. I would also say that kisses, I think can kind of be a crutch in dating somebody new who you don't know, and there's a lot of awkward moments, especially when you've met someone from an app, and like there's just so much awkwardness when you're getting to know a stranger off the street. It can be really easy, like you just crave comfort and relaxation and intimacy when there isn't any yet. And I think that kissing can be a way of like forcing in some intimacy before there actually really is any. It's a crutch. I would never say don't do it. I don't think there's a right or wrong way, but for me it became important to be really honest with myself about like, why did I want to kiss someone? Was it because I felt insecure about my personality and kissing with someone where I felt secure? Was it because I thought I was losing their attention? Was it because things felt awkward? I think it really helps to be honest with yourself about like, why are you doing it? Are you doing it because you want to and it feels correct? Or are you doing it because it feels easier than the awkwardness of getting to know someone by spending time together? I really don't think there's a right answer here. I cannot emphasize that enough. Kiss all the you want and do it whenever you want. But if you're having trouble like trusting people and knowing why someone's there, why are they hanging out with you, I do think it can be a really helpful way to feel more confident about what is the truth of this dynamic. That's all. Okay. Wow, this is possibly one of the crazier things I've done, but it's the best. Let's talk about record keeping, okay? I need to keep files on people. You heard me right. I keep files on people. Yes, I do. And that is because I'm not great at trusting myself. I'm not great at trusting my instincts. I found that I cannot be trusted to listen to my instincts. I cannot be trusted to pay attention to the information that is given to me. So I gotta keep a record. I gotta write it down or record it or make the data concrete, quantifiable in a way that I can't ignore it. So specifically, this is what I would do. I like to do voice memos because I can talk very fast, much faster than I can write. So I would record a voice memo on my phone before the date, and I would say, gonna meet, what's a stupid name? Terry. Gonna meet Terry. I'm sorry, Terry, if you're a Terry watching this video. It's a silly name to me. Gonna meet Terry. My impressions of Terry based on his profile are XYZ. You go on the date. After the date, I make another voice memo and I say, which of these things were true? Which of these things was I wrong about? And also, like, how did I feel? Sitting at the date with him, like, I felt respected, I felt awkward, I felt nervous, I felt stressed, and, like, it's normal to feel a bunch of things on a first date. First dates are hell. You know, maybe we go on a second date, we're giving him a chance. After the second date, leave a voice memo. How did that go? How did it leave me feeling? And what I found is, like, the themes emerge. The clues, the information is in there. You feel it on the date, and it's a really good way of starting to build confidence in your instincts, confidence in that, like, you actually know how someone makes you feel. They might be attractive and successful and accomplished and well-mannered, but they always kind of leave me feeling like dirt. And that pattern will emerge there over time. The first time I started doing this with a guy, it was the first guy I went on a date with after a 6-year relationship. And so I felt I didn't feel confident in how to date. I couldn't even remember how to do it really. And I started recording the voice memos even without like going back to listen to them. I don't know, it's just something I started doing. And then a few weeks into dating him, I found myself in tears at some point. I felt, so upset about whatever. I wasn't feeling good. And for some reason, I went back and listened to the voice memos. And the pattern of this guy not making me feel good was in there from date number 1. It was in the voice memos. At the end of the date, I felt this way. After date 2, great banter, great fun, great chemistry, but I kind of felt this negative way. It was in every single date. And it was really helpful in a moment where I was like spiraling and anxious and kind of having a meltdown to be able to like look back and see like this guy has made me feel this way consistently the whole time. That's something I could get in my head about and be like, oh, but he is nice. Oh, but he is respectful. Oh, but I don't think he's a terrible guy. Yeah, he doesn't have to be a terrible guy for the dynamic to leave you feeling less than good. Keep a file. Keep notes so that A, you can't whitewash what's happening just because you think he's cute. B, you don't get to gaslight yourself out of what you already knew. And C, it helps you identify patterns quicker. The patterns are there, the information is there from the beginning. Keep a file. I don't care if it's psychotic. Like, if it helps you identify patterns faster, be better at like taking notes and kind of being a detective, not just a detective about them, but a detective about yourself. That's what's so hard, is like learning to note what you yourself are feeling and feeling confident in your own experience. Keep a record, dude. It helps. Proteins, whole grains, and they really limit processed ingredients so you can feel really good about what you're eating. But like most important to me, everything is pre-portioned, sauces are pre-made. It's just like the easiest it gets. And that's the only way that I can tolerate meal prep. Today I made this creamy cilantro chicken salad. It took me 10 minutes. Count them, 10. My favorite is their new quick and easy recipes where I can prioritize what I'm eating and eat well, but it's all under 25 minutes. Like, that's what I'm talking about. Green Chef to me is the only way that I will be cooking ever. It's just like, it just works for how I function. I truly don't have the organization to go out and like hunt down recipes and hunt down the ingredients. I don't think I really have the patience, so this works really well for me. There's no waste. You're not like buying a ton of produce, watching it rot and then throwing it away, and so you can replace it the next week. If you also feel like you're short on time, short on executive functioning, so short on organization, and you want to try Green Chef, use my code Caroline50. You can get 50% off and free shipping. Go to greenchef.com for more details. I'm going to put a link in the video description. It's super easy. It makes my life possible. And Green Chef has been an amazing supporter of this channel. I really recommend everybody checks them out. It's been the most positive experience. Thank you to Green Chef for sponsoring. And go check them out. I've only ever had one big and glaring regret in dating. There's only one. The only thing I've ever regretted in dating is moments when I did not treat someone with respect. I don't think you will ever regret choosing to treat someone with respect, choosing to be kind to someone, whether or not they deserve it. The only moments I ever regretted was when I lowered my own behavior and wasn't kind to somebody. And it was usually for a reason, in a moment where I felt insecure, where I felt they were treating me poorly. That's usually when it happens. Some kind of player is making you feel bad, making you feel disposable. And so it's easy then to be defensive or say something kind of bitchy, or maybe say something that'll put them down or make them feel a little insecure, or to act like you don't really care. I think it can be really easy to fall into playing to someone's level. When you're in a toxic dynamic where someone's playing games, it's really easy to play games back. Those are truly the only things I've ever regretted. I don't regret getting my heart broken. I don't regret experiencing rejection, experiencing disappointment. I don't regret being treated poorly, even. What's to regret? It's out of my control, and it's kind of going to happen with dating. The only thing I regret is ever lowering my own standard for how I want to treat people. And let me be clear, treating people with kindness and respect while continuing to respect yourself, you're trying to balance both. It It doesn't mean that they're going to choose you. It doesn't mean they're going to love you. It doesn't mean that they're going to respect you, and it doesn't mean they're going to be good to you. It's really not about that. I think it can build your self-esteem, your confidence, and your respect in yourself to know that, like, no matter what someone does to me, I'm still going to treat them with respect. I'm still going to treat them kindly. And eventually, I will find the match who will, like, meet me with that. And it is hard, like, treating people kindly no matter what doesn't mean, like, ceasing to protect yourself and ceasing to look out for your own safety and well-being. It's a fine balance. I find it really hard both to treat myself with respect and to always treat others with respect. Like, both are extremely difficult. And I think the key is to be trying to do both at all times. Like, you're probably not going to be able to do both at all times, but, like, trying. Like, let's say a guy kind of negs you. And so you kind of neg him, say something bitchy in, like, a flirty but put down way to, like, make him also feel insecure. And then he might really judge you for that. But then to have that feeling of, like, oh, that's not even really who I am. I was doing that reactively just because you did it. Like, that's a terrible feeling because you're not showing up as yourself. But if you show up as yourself and you, like, treat people well and you're showing up as the person you want to be, the person that you can endorse and stand behind, and then someone rejects you, it still hurts, but it feels very different. It's like, oh, you didn't like the version of me that I think is really respectable. It's disappointing, but, like, then I respect you a little less. Then I want you a little less. So I think it actually helps with rejection, which is going to happen for everybody, to just, like, insist as much as you can as showing up as the person that you can stand behind. It makes the rest a lot easier. Okay, let's get back to some, like, kind of unhinged dating advice. If you're someone who finds it hard to, like, be yourself when you're nervous on a date, you're nervous on a date, and it's, like, hard to be yourself, and you get in that mode where you're like, I don't even know how to have conversation. Like, what does one say? Like, what does one say? Have I ever made a joke before? Do I have any stories to tell? It's almost like my mind is immediately vacant. And all I can do is, like, look at your pretty ass face, and I have, like, it's like I've never had a thought in my life. I don't know how to be right here. I don't know how to be. Not good. I'm not being myself. A lot of people's advice is like, well, you just need to know that, like, you're the best, and you should show up as whoever you are, and if they don't like it, then, you know, so what? Then, like, hit the road, Jack. These kinds of affirmations, they don't work for me. They don't work for me. I don't know who they work for, but positive affirmations have never worked for me. What does work for me is to imagine the worst case scenario, and that's where my power is. Before a date, if I'm feeling too nervous, I like to visualize that they have already dumped me. This person has already dumped me. This person has already rejected me, already humiliated me. Because I found that when a guy I was so intimidated by and was, like, changing myself so much in order to impress them and was, like, trying to, like, figure out what kind of girl I needed to be to, like, get their approval, I found that once they dumped me, I was like, I could look at them and be like, God, you're such a loser. Like, why was I trying so hard to impress you? Nothing about you is interesting. You're not nice. You're not a kind person. I'm so much funnier than you. You don't have any hobbies. I actually think I'm cuter than you. It's just like, what is it about you? What is it about you that I was so entranced by? Like, it's just a vibe sometimes, right? It's just confidence, maybe. And I'm not an overly confident person, so confidence would always trump me. But as soon as they broke up with me or made me feel rejected in some way, I was suddenly able to, like, see my own value and see how ridiculous the power dynamic was. And then I could just show up and be myself. I could always then show up and be myself. So there's probably a lot of toxic parts to that. But if you're someone who doesn't benefit from positive affirmations, here's a negative one. Sit there and visualize this person's already broken up with you. Because really what it does is it releases this anxiety of having to keep them. Just imagine they're already f***ing gone. Then what would you say? Then how would you act? If you knew for sure that this person was not going to remain in your life, and instead it's just like a lunch you're having, and either you get to enjoy the lunch or not, and either way they're gone forever at the end. It's a lot easier to like figure out what you want to talk about, what you want to joke about, how you want to show up. And you have to be careful, like, don't start treating them dismissively or like flippantly. It's not about treating them differently. Still treat people with respect, but it's about letting yourself relax and like eliminating these imaginary stakes in your head. In my head, the stakes are always so freaking high, it's intolerable. I'm so intolerable, but this is something that helped me. If you take nothing else away from this, remember that like it is rare to find connection. If you got 100 best friends, first of all, no you don't. No you don't. It is rare to find really true deep connections with people. Platonically, romantically, it does just take time. Dating sucks for a while. It should, because if you're looking for something real, like most of it won't be that. So don't let that discourage you. Also, rejection and disappointment are just a part of the game. It's not a failure. It's not a reflection on you. And it doesn't even necessarily mean that you're like doing something wrong. It's just a guaranteed part of like trying out different matches. So I think it's really important to balance like, you know, continuous self-reflection, continuing to want to like learn from your mistakes. I'm going to keep making mistakes my whole life, I promise. But also balancing that with like knowing that rejection is an important, like an imperative part of the experience. It's okay. Everyone gets rejection. Like, I try to hurdle myself towards rejection. The more you do it, the more you learn you'll survive.
Alright, now that we heard from the experts, here's some tips from an old man who has gone through some shit. First tip seems very minute, but very important. I don't care if the guy gives you the best compliment you've ever received in your entire life. Do not respond with, "Oh, you're so sweet." That is not the reaction we're looking for. That is friend zone energy, and we ain't trying to go to the friend zone, trust me. I know y'all like playing games, so play them. I mean, the ones that are going to be worth taking a chance on are the ones that are going to want to have fun and play along anyways. I mean, the playing hard to get thing can get old pretty quick, but I would definitely play games to see if he'll play along. I know that sounds like dumb advice, and but I would. They want to chase. They want to hunt. Let them do it. Let us do it. I keep talking about it like I'm not one of them. Let me do it. I've been studying both sides of the coin on this topic, and it seems like both sides tell to let the other side wait. Play hard to get, basically. Both sides are saying that, so how are we going to figure this out, guys? Leave me a comment. Leave me a comment. Tell me how we're going to get past this wall of both playing hard to get. Do not, and I repeat, do not have sex on the first date. It is absolutely not the right thing to do. But it'd be a lot cooler if you did. Definitely, it depends on what vibe you're going to want to send. I mean, if you want to send that vibe, go ahead. I mean, the dude ain't going to get mad. Trust me. So if that's the vibe you want to send that vibe. But if you're looking long term, it's probably not a good look. So just wait. I mean, let him make the move on you for the kiss, and let we go from there. All right, that wraps it up for this one, guys. Thank you for watching again. I love you guys. You are loved by the universe. I know you don't like them, but go love them. Go love somebody that you don't like. You don't have to like them to love them. Love them. Go love somebody you don't like. See you next time. Love ya.